Hey, in today's video, we're talking about the fat burning power of fasting. What happens at 12 hours of fasting, 16, 18 hours, 24 hours, 36, 3 to 5 days of fasting? What's happening at each one of these kind of key timestamps when it comes to overall fasting? So one caveat as I go through these timestamps is to know that the more metabolically healthy you are, meaning the lower level of insulin you have, fasted insulin, the better your blood sugar regulation, the leaner you are, the less body fat, the better the effects of fasting. Like you're gonna get better benefits of fasting early on. In fact, to get certain benefits, if you're really metabolically damaged, you're gonna need to actually fast for a longer period of time to get the same benefits, right? So what I might get at a 16-hour fast, it might take you 24 hours to get if you're very metabolically damaged. But the more that you implement this sort of fasted and blood sugar friendly lifestyle into your regular plan, like if you're living this lifestyle, you'll get metabolically healthy and then you'll be able to get these benefits. Ultimately, fasting should be a lifestyle. It's something that you want to be doing on a regular basis to get profound health benefits. I always say fasting is the most ancient, inexpensive, and powerful healing strategy because of the profound effects it has on your overall health. So let's dive into this deeper. And so 12 hours of fasting, this is kind of the baseline I recommend for everybody. So if you finish your dinner at 7 p.m., you should wait until at least 7 a.m. before you consume anything with calories. Now you can consume herbal tea or black coffee, and of course water, you can hydrate your body, but don't consume anything with calories for at least 12 hours. That actually allows you to go through a full liver detox cycle and to get some level of healing in your gut lining. Unfortunately, in our society, most people are not doing this, but you should be giving at least 12 hours between your last meal and your first meal to get that full liver detox cycle, as well as allow your gut lining to start the healing and rebuilding process. So that's what happens at 12 hours. Now, 14 hours, we start to actually increase fat burning. So we started to break down glucose and a storage form of glucose called glycogen as an energy source during that 12 hours of fasting. Once we hit around 14 hours, now we start getting a deeper level of fat burning and our insulin levels go down. And so we have better insulin sensitivity as a whole. So this study out of JAMA Oncology in 2016 looked at individuals that had a short overnight fast of 13 hours or less and compared them against individuals that had a fast of over 13 hours overnight. And these were all individuals that had breast cancer in the past. And they were looking at what is the impact of an overnight fast have on the recurrence or the recreation of cancer. Right? And so always one of the risks whenever somebody has had a history of cancer is the cancer recurring. And so individuals that had a short overnight fast of less than 13 hours had a 36% greater rate of breast cancer recurrence and a 21% greater rate of dying from that recurrence compared to individuals that fasted for more than 13 hours overnight. So a 13-hour fast, that's not really that hard to do. In fact, it's quite easy to do a 14-hour overnight fast. It really just takes intentionality. You stop eating at, let's say, 7 p.m. You don't eat anything with calories until at least 9 a.m. the next day. Now, again, you can drink water and hydrate your body, drink herbal teas, drink coffee. In fact, I recommend getting a lot of good hydration in. The hydration, if you're feeling hungry when you wake up, the hydration itself will fill your stomach, and that will reduce the release of the hunger hormone ghrelin. See, ghrelin is released when there's nothing in your stomach. As soon as your stomach walls start to expand, you inhibit the release of ghrelin, and now you don't feel as hungry. So you feel satisfied, satiated. We've all done that before. We've had a big glass of water. We've been hungry, we drank a big glass of water, and then we were no longer hungry. And that's because of the inhibition of the hunger hormone ghrelin. And so do a 14-hour overnight fast. You'll start burning fat for fuel. You'll lower your overall rate of developing cancer. And why is that? Because we know that cancer loves glucose as an energy source and has a lot of insulin receptors. And so if we're very insulin resistant, because we're not doing overnight fasting and we're eating a lot of pro-inflammatory and insulogenic foods, lots of processed foods, we are going to feed cancer cells in our body. When we start to take longer periods of time without food, like a 14-hour overnight fast, we start to burn fat more effectively for fuel, we lower our insulin levels, and we start to metabolically challenge and stress cancer cells in our body. That's really beneficial for our overall health. Now, let's move on to 16 hours. So at 16 hours, we start to reduce insulin levels even lower. And now, as insulin goes down, growth hormone goes up. And as growth hormone goes up, we preserve our lean body tissue. Growth hormone sends a signal saying, okay, keep lean body tissue, muscle and bone tissue. So a lot of people think the longer they fast, they're gonna wither away, they're gonna lose their muscle tissue. But when growth hormone rises, and it rises as insulin's going down, so as insulin goes down, growth hormone goes up, it tells us to hold on to bone and muscle tissue. It also helps to balance the immune system and reduce inflammation in our body. And it actually helps to protect the collagen tissue in our skin, which gives us better anti-aging benefits. So better skin health, better joint health, right? All of those types of things that we want, right? And that's ultimately one of the great benefits of growth hormone. Great anti-aging benefits. Also, as insulin goes down, we're burning fat for fuel, and we start to produce ketones. And those ketones are a great fuel source for our brain, and they also reduce inflammation in our brain. So as ketones elevate in our bloodstream, they send a signal to the brain, right, and to the neurons in the brain to reduce inflammation. They actually shut down something called the inflammasome in our brain. The inflammasome is kind of like this alarm system of inflammation in the brain. And as long as that's on, we get higher levels of inflammation. When ketones become elevated, it shuts off that alarm, lowers inflammation. We start to think better, think sharper and more clearly, become more creative. In fact, most people that I know that practice intermittent fasting will say they do their best work, they're most creative, and they're sharpest, they're most cognitively sharp when they're in a fasted state, fasting for 16, 18 hours, or sometimes even more if they're very metabolically healthy. Why are they so creative? Why are they so mentally sharp? Because the ketones are elevating during that period of time. So you have a really profound effect as far as brain healing and as far as overall cognition. And so it's a really great place to get to is the kind of that 16 to 18 hour window for optimal performance. As we move into a 20 to 24 hour fast, we also start to see a big rise in brain-derived neurotropic factor, which is like miracle grow for the brain. BDNF, we produce that when we're walking, moving, exercise, good sleep, good nutrition, all help stimulate BDNF. But we get a huge rise of it as we get into the kind of this 20 to 24 hour fasting window. That's great for the brain. We get a further increase in ketones. So we get deeper healing, deeper anti-aging benefits in that window. We also start to stimulate intestinal cell stem cells. And so stem cells are these young, stress-resilient cells. And so in our intestines, the cells don't live very long. Our intestinal lining actually replaces itself every 3 to 5 days. So it's constantly replacing itself. Why? Because it's under so much mechanical stress. And in the small intestine, our intestinal lining is only one cell lining thick, right? All held in by tight junctions. So we need very stress-resilient cells, and we need to turn them over quickly. So a 24-hour fast has been shown to actually increase intestinal stem cell production in the intestines to help create more stress-resilient cells in the intestinal lining, which resist damage and reduce overall inflammation in the body. So great benefit there. We're gonna start to rebuild that gut lining, getting that 20 to 24 hour fast. That's why every week for me, myself, I actually love to do a 20 to 24 hour fast. I usually do it from lunch on Wednesday to lunch on Thursday. I'll consume a really good, healthy lunch on Wednesday, and I'll fast until lunch on Thursday, get a full 24-hour fast, and I usually break my fast with a great workout. Getting that fasted exercise helps my body get rid of dysfunctional cells, these zombie cells that are not functioning well. I drive up the need for autophagy, breaking down these old damaged cellular organelles, damaged mitochondria, and reusing the raw materials so I can create new, healthy, stress-resilient mitochondria in my body. And that's one of the great things to do is end your fast with a fasted workout. You want to be well hydrated, make sure you've got electrolytes on board, but end it with a great workout. That workout will drive up autophagy and mitophagy, where your body will break down the old, damaged cellular organelles and recycle them and create a newer, healthier, more stress-resilient mitochondria and a more stress-resilient cells. And that will also increase the amount of stem cells that are produced as well. You see, your body either wants to repair a damaged cell or it wants to get rid of that damaged cell and replace it with a young stem cell, a stress-resilient stem cell. And so if you can't repair it, your body will break it down. It will undergo something called apoptosis, where it's programmed cell death. It will get rid of that older, damaged cell and then replace it with a stem cell. And that's what happens in our gut lining when we're doing that 20 to 24 hour fast. So really profound benefits there. And then as we allow that fast to go longer, again, we're consuming water and hydrating beverages, just not consuming calories. We get deeper amounts of fat burning and anti-aging effects. We're getting higher levels of ketones to turn down inflammation in our brain and allow for deep healing to take place in our brain, deep mitochondrial healing to take place throughout our body. We're allowing for more stem cells to be produced. We're allowing for better fat burning, better immune regulation. And then as we move into the 3 to 5 day fasting range, that's when we see this huge increase in stem cells. And this is happening really throughout our body. Why? Because we're turning on the programmed cell suicide switch called apoptosis, and all these dysfunctional damaged cells, these zombie cells in our body, including in our immune system, getting rid of those damaged cells and replacing them with a healthy stem cell. And we actually get full immune regulation in that 3 to 5 days. And so if you're really metabolically healthy, you're going to see these benefits sooner, like a 3-day fast compared to a 5-day fast, right? The more metabolically healthy you are, the lower your baseline insulin level is when you start, the better benefits you get from fasting. But even if your insulin is really high, skyrocketedly high, you're going to start to see these benefits. You're going to get better fat burning. You're going to start producing ketones, and you're going to teach your body how to utilize these ketones. You're going to start to activate autophagy as you do this. And ultimately, the goal with fasting is to create a lifestyle around it. For me, I like to do a daily 16 to 18 hour fast, and once a week do a 20 to 24 hour fast. Usually once a quarter, I'll do a 36 or maybe a 48 hour fast. And then once a year, I do like a 3 to 5 day fast. That's something that I found as a metabolically healthy person that keeps me really functioning at a high level. It's something I recommend for most people to do, some sort of a program like that. But everybody's unique and different. And so find a good fasting strategy that works for you. For a lot of people, like for women, for example, they might do a 14 or 16 hour fast, right? Particularly, let's say, with their menstrual cycle, we usually don't want them doing a long intermittent fast the week before they menstruate or a few days before they ovulate. But once they start menstruating, that's a great time to do a 20 or 24 hour fast or regular 16 to 18 hour fast or even a 3 to 5 day fast in that first 10 days of their menstrual cycle, from the time they bleed up until like right before ovulation. It's a great time for most women, most menstruating women, to do deeper amounts of intermittent fasting. The week before the menstrual cycle, don't do deep intermittent fasting. Do a 12 to 14 hour overnight fast, and that's a great strategy to apply. For most men, they can start doing intermittent fasting pretty quickly right away, okay? Obviously, if you've got a chronic disease and you're taking a bunch of different medications, always good to work with a health coach or a functional health practitioner or with your prescribing doctor to figure out what the best fasting strategy is going to be for you. But fasting is one of the most ancient, inexpensive, and powerful healing strategies known to mankind, and it's something that can really dramatically improve your life and your health.